clockwork. The Swiss set their watches to my turn in the flipping the switch over here, man. Good evening, gentlemen.
It's incredible.
How we doing?
Good. It was a good weekend. Watched a great movie with the family, and still riding the high of that one.
Nice. I've been chugging through Arcade on Netflix.
Okay, tell me about Arcane.
Yeah.
Arcane is animated. It is based off of the League of Legends game.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And the animation, if nothing else, the animation is amazing. It's like moving paintings.
It's Arcade?
Arcane.
I got you.
Yeah, it looks so good. Like the visuals of it looks incredible.
Yes, it's visually good. The story's really good. Yeah, it's very. I mean, we talked about it quite a bit, especially on crowdfunding corner. Iron Kingdom-y.
Yeah.
Because there's that steampunk aspect, but then there's also what they call hex tech. So, but it is really cool. There's political intrigue. There's action. Yeah, it's a pretty slick series.
That's cool. 9 episodes, about 40 minutes long each. It's pretty stout for an animated series.
Oh yeah, they pull no punches, man. It's solid.
What would you say from a family friendly aspect? Is that a yes or no?
I would say Lily on up.
So 15 plus.
Yeah. I mean, because they do drop some S bombs. I don't know if they did any F bombs or not. I don't think so. But the storyline is it can get a little bit heavy, I think, for kids. You know, sisters at odds kind of thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's cool.
Digging
A lot of really good stuff. I've actually, speaking of Netflix, I started watching Queen's Gambit. I'm a latecomer.
Oh, yes.
But
it's good, right?
It's really
weird,
good.
and it's weird that it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how do you make chess exciting?
I still can't figure out why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the character, and she's a really good actress. I don't know her name, but she's a really good actress.
Yes.
She's a very unique, like,
on Taylor
look.
Joy.
On a Taylor Joy, yeah.
Very unique
Yeah,
look.
yeah, she has a very
about
unique
her.
look.
Yeah, especially her eye shape is really interesting.
A little on the creepy side.
Well, I mean, I think that's what
When
she's
she
supposed to
kinda-
come off as, right?
When she kind of gives you that, it looks in the camera and her, because she's got some pretty big eyes, and it's just kind of like, I feel like she's looking into my soul.
Like slightly alien, almost, where because they're
yeah.
big, but they're almond shape.
Yes, I kind of don't like it sometimes. It makes me nervous.
I'll swallow your soul.
No.
I am now 3 episodes deep into Wheel of Time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to burn through Arcane, because I want to get through Wheel of Time.
Yeah, it's I won't do any spoilers. I mean, if you've read the books, you probably don't care, but I am comfortable in my commitment to watching this as a series.
Right on.
Okay.
Like it's good enough that I'm like, yeah, I will adopt this show.
That's awesome.
It's not like The Witcher where I'm like, oh, you need to watch The Witcher. But it's I was talking with the wife about it. I talked with John about it a little bit earlier on.
Talking with the wife, John. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, y'all are Lindsay's replacements anyway, so.
Yeah.
Well,
It's fine.
So John, I was telling John after the first episode, I said it feels like the writers really wanted to write Lord of the Rings, but they got stuck writing Wheel of Time. Because it's like it feels very. This is the best. I told John this, so I'll give you this same thing, and then I've got an updated one for John's benefit. So it's like if you told me, I've got a great comic book idea. It's gonna be awesome. I'm really passionate about it. Um, it can hold its own. Yeah, it's got a lot of backing. People love it. And it's called Scorpion Man.
Yeah.
Mm.
And if you were to say, okay, sure, yeah, go for it. Let show me Scorpion Man. I'd love for it to be good. I'd be like, okay, hear me out. He lives with his aunt and uncle, and his suit is like a dark red and black. And in the first issue of the comic, his aunt dies, and she says, as she's dying, she says, uh, "Remember, Patrick, with great ability comes great responsibility."
Hmm.
You would be like, you want to write Spider-Man. That would be your response. Like, just write Spider-Man, or don't. But don't pretend like you're not writing Spider-Man. That is how Wheel of Time, the show, feels like. There are so many, like so many plot points, direct quotes, and shots from Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. It's not even funny.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
every episode has like 5.
Okay.
Um,
I'm going to try to burn through Arcane
Now,
tonight.
to be like, and as a person who has read 10 of the 14 Wheel of Time novels, which let me tell you something, that is a Herculean effort of reading
Like I say, man, good on you.
for more than one
Jeez,
reason,
yeah.
because those books are not Dragonlance where you burn. They're like 320 pages you burn through in an afternoon. They are a 1,200 page, sometimes
It's a chore.
slog.
It's a chore.
Yeah, because one of the
Yeah.
things that Jordan is known for is gilding the lily. I'm going to spend like, I don't know, 10, 15 pages on a leaf and the dew that's on it and all this, like all that detail. He's pretty much the John of authors. Just like really, it's just too much. So, but whenever it gets good, oh boy, Wheel of Time is really, really, really good. And his lore is really good. But, so I'll say as a reader, and I do love the series, what I have read of it, it is that first book is very Tolkien-esque. It's almost like what I was telling Zach before. Is like it's like he wrote the Lord of the Rings fan fiction, and then he's like, well, but I'm gonna have to make it my own, right?
Listen,
and he didn't know
there's
if
a
it was
part-
ever gonna do. If there was anything that was gonna come of it. He didn't know if it was gonna. Because there's like a tight ending to it where they could have been like, and then they walk away from it.
Troy,
Yeah.
let me do this for you. I close your eyes and think of a movie where there are 4 best friend protagonists who live in an idyllic town, kind of by themselves. They have lots of fun, goofing around, being silly. And then one day, a dark power, a rider in black, cloaked, makes its way into their village, and they must run. And he chases them on horseback across the countryside, and they must make it across the river because the one thing this creature fears is water, and so they must get to the ferry and cross the ferry so that they have enough time to make it to the fancy, safe guardian city before he catches back up to them. You have not just watched the first half of Fellowship of the Ring. You have watched the first 2 episodes of Wheel of Time.
I don't know what you're talking about. But here's the thing, though. So
I'm gonna say, where's Strider?
it is very. There are
he shows
there are a
up.
lot of parallels, right?
Episode 3.
That's fair. There are a lot of parallels, but just hold out. If not for the rest of this season, I'm really hoping
listen.
that next season's. I know that you're going to hold out.
This
What I'm
is-
saying is like, if you're gonna be like, don't
it's
be too
great.
put off by how close.
I'm
it is.
not. This is what I told Megan today. I said, here's the thing. I like Lord of the Rings. I will eat the Lord of the Rings taco every single day. Right? So you may have taken all the ingredients of a taco and like turned the lettuce into the shell and like fried up the tortillas and sprinkled them on as some sort of like crouton or whatever, and like you might have completely reinvented the taco
So
with the
this
same
is-
ingredients.
Reinvented
but I'm
the
still
taco.
going to, but I am still going to eat it. I'm still going to be happy to eat it because I like the taco. Like I don't care that you did all this like don't tell me that it's a lettuce wrap when you actually just took the taco
Lettuce wrap.
and right.
Oh, whatever. I'm excited to watch it though. So
It sounds like it's so. Lord of the Rings is the original taco, and Wheel of Time is the taco salad.
yeah.
Is that what you're?
It's
is that
all a
what you're-
taco. It's just like it's
No,
been.
it's a taco salad, but it's telling you that taco but it conveniently left the word taco out of the name, right? It's like we're a salad. It's like no, you're a taco
Oh,
that just
a
got mixed
seasoned
around
meat
with a
salad.
fork.
It's
Yeah.
a seasoned meat
So
salad.
so Lord of the Rings is the taco, and Wheel of Time is the crunchy Mexican salad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I mean,
So,
I think that okay. So we're dwelling.
a gordita crunch
Well,
would be good right now.
yeah, I agree. Welcome. Is that Chaosate? Is that how we pronounce it? Glad you can make it. Kurt,
Chaos
welcome as
ate
always.
my taco salad.
So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to commit. I just wish that the writers felt like it was cool to write Wheel of Time instead of just be super bummed that they didn't get the lucky
I
draw
got it.
to write for.
I got it. I think we talked about this too. It's like both Amazon is doing Wheel of Time and they're doing the new Lord of the Rings series.
Yeah.
Close to what you had
They're
said.
gonna have a
before,
crossover.
But I'm gonna change up what you had told me previously just a little bit. I think that they got lost. Like they got lost and they were like when they went into a room and they wrote like the first 3 episodes and like, oh my god, this is gonna be like the best version of Lord of the Rings that's ever been made.
Yeah, exactly.
And then somebody came in after those 3 episodes were written and said, hey guys, so how's that Wheel of Time? How are those Wheel of Time scripts
they're
coming? They're like,
Ah.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a point in which I mean there are true quotes stealing from PJ's Lord of the Rings. True
PJ.
quotes. Yeah.
You're on a 2-letter names.
Zach is such a fan.
Mr. PJ, yeah.
Yeah, PJ.
Yeah.
My homeboy PJ.
He says at one point he said there's a lady that's basically the Galadriel kind of sort of stand-in is like history will become legend and legend will become myth. And I was like, shut your mouth. Like
When Zach said that before, I'm like, you, ma'am,
Shut your
are no Galadriel.
that's
So,
right.
so is there a scene where someone's just like, and you have my axe? Or
No,
something?
but
Not yet.
there
Wait
is
for it.
Wait for it.
There is an axe.
there-
There's an axe.
there is
Yes,
yeah
yes.
there is a moment like even Megan was catching on like at one point, and I say even, but she knows Lord of the Rings pretty well, and they
All
go
of them
like,
de-wheeled.
there's a moment where the 2 guys that are taking these characters on their journey, these 2 people are like steering them towards they're going to have to go into the mountain city. And the mountain city is a place where they start telling the story about like, well, the mountain city pledged to send their armies for this battle. And when the time for battle came, they sent no one and stayed within their
Bastards.
walls. And so they were cursed. And they never left their city, and they disappeared and died, but they didn't die, and now the city is dangerous to navigate through. And and Megan turned to me and she's like, "Is this an army of the dead? Like, is Aragorn going to go chat with the army of
No,
the dead?"
no,
And
no.
I'm like,
The way is shut.
well, yeah, exactly.
Wait
right.
until you meet.
Yeah.
Here's okay. So if you like all the parallels to the Lord of the Rings, wait until you meet a character, and no more than the name Loyal. I think that's how they're going to pronounce the name. Maybe that's how I pronounce it in the book. When you get there, you're gonna be like, you'll squint your eyes. It'll be like, it's pretty much insert
Yeah.
this character name here, which I'll spoiler free, right?
So
Is
we don't have to talk
Lowell
about it.
from Wings.
From Wings, it's him. It's him.
Yeah.
It's the guy. And then he turns into the Sandman later on. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Poor Man's Lord of the Rings.
It is
Exactly
poor man's
right,
because
Andrew.
like one of the things Zach was saying is like you could tell that there's a broad difference in budget.
No. This is not the poor man's Lord of the Rings because you had to spend a hell of a lot more to read these books than you had to spend to read Lord of the Rings.
That's true.
So this is the overinflated, gilded.
You know what's really sad? None of
Lord
this
of
is
the
a
Rings.
resounding. Like we're not pointing anybody towards actually watching this show. Do you realize that? Or
And
reading the
I
books
would
or
like
anything.
to.
Oh,
I think
well,
it's a good show. It's just his.
I'm gonna watch it. I read the first. Did I read the first book? I don't remember. There's so much I remember about it, but I don't remember if I read it or if it was because my nephew was such a uber fan of it. He was telling me about it constantly.
See,
Lord of the Rings without
books,
editing. Exactly, Kirk.
reading the books is like it's like old school MMORPGs. It's like Final Fantasy 11 or like where it's like in World of Warcraft you can get on and you can play for an hour and you've accomplished something in an hour. Whereas with Final Fantasy 11 it was absolute punishment for 8 hours trying to find people to play with, getting on a decent team, and then it's just grind for 8 hours. But then there's like 15 minutes of like a heroin rush. It's like oh my god, it's so amazing. And that's what reading the books were like, because you would have like this slog. You're like, oh my god, is this going to be over with? But then it would get really, really good. And the lore is really good too. It's really like it does diverge from that very Tolkien-esque, like an homage, like significantly in the second book in particular. And the book is really cool, especially with the Aes Sedai.
Because he already
It's
rewrote
really cool.
everything else.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, here.
Is that,
I mean,
is
we
that
could
how you
talk about
pronounce
Wheel of
that?
Time.
No, I mean, I'm gonna hear it in the show, but
Well, I mean, I know the way that I've pronounced them. But by no means does that mean that it's. Am I saying, like, it's not like I say with more authority some of the Dragonlance names, but not so with. I've seen like 50 different interpretations or pronunciations for some. So Aes Sedai are like the magic users.
That's how they pronounce it.
Is that how they
That's
pronounce it in the show?
by the movie.
Aes
Yeah,
Sedai.
Aes Sedai.
Okay.
Yeah,
Aes Sedai.
yeah. Troy, let's get this show on the road. Are we recording?
Oh, this isn't the show?
No.
Shit. I thought we were just gonna,
This?
while away on the wheel of time.
By the way, Andrew
Right.
is very right. By the way, about Final Fantasy 11. Like half the time is waiting. In Final Fantasy 11, you wait.
That's what makes those games so awesome.
Fair enough.
It's
Are we good though, Troy?
We are, we're fantastic. We're good.
Great, excellent. Okay.
We're recording.
Okay, let's do this then. In 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Bite Size Gaming Podcast, the podcast that's serving up a buffet of RPG topic to get you through your week. My name is Zach, and the host joining me this evening are the Dwarven DM, John Christian,
Hello, everyone.
and the Dapper DM, Troy Sandlin.
Hello.
You've got to make it awkward.
There we go. Clean.
On brand. Well done.
All right.
That was.
So we are doing.
Still better than Lolly Ho.
Troy
man,
has
that's
told us
not
that this is number 9 Kickstarter corner, crowdfunding corner, whatever it is. Number 9. This is good. This means we've done a solid 18 weeks plus, if you count the ones before we split
Yeah.
off. But
Oh, yeah.
18 weeks of costing you and us money.
Mm-hmm.
And we're damn glad to do it.
That's right. Yeah. I've got tonight. We've got a good spread tonight. And we've even got non-Kickstarter things, thanks to some people in our Discord server. So I'm pretty proud of our list actually today. Not that I'm ever not proud, but we've got a really good variety tonight. We're gonna keep going with Troy's rapid fire honorable mentions as a segment, and I think we should brand it Troy's rapid fire honorable mentions as a segment.
You get your own segment now.
I was like,
ABB. Um, there we go. Fix it. So we're gonna do that first, just like last time, because why not? We do our dessert in the original way that we did the podcast.
Yeah.
We always did our dessert first, so we're gonna do our rapid fire honorable mentions first. 'Cause we like to be different like that. So let's see. Oh boy. Who's gonna be sharing links with the chat
I'll take
tonight?
care
Is
of
that
that.
John?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, cool. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 honorable mentions. Here we go. I'll start off. Um, I'm going to talk to you about heterodoxy. Is that how? I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I think so.
Heterodoxy. This is for side quest, which is not quite Zine Quest, but it's kind of Zine Quest for the fall. It is a GM-less system with, they say distributed. I think what they really mean is pre-generated characters. It is a little zine, a game of witches raised by a heretic saving a forest from an empire. It is a very small project, but you can pick up the printed zine and the digital PDF for $10.
Oh wow.
Here's what so I'm backing this one. I didn't even get through half of the text that they present because I think they sold me on enough for me to want to check it out. First off, it's got some really funky, cool, like grayscale art
I dig it.
that
Yeah.
I really like. You play as witches, but witches can mean different things. You get like a weird companion, like one looks like a baby tiger, one looks like a dude, like a woodsman with an axe, and one is what I'm guessing an imp. But you all play as a witch, and you're just kind of dealing with this war against the Empire and its agents. There's chimeras, which are also kind of funky. Like they've got all sorts of ideas about what a chimera will look like. Like
Yeah.
one is this weird griffin-looking thing, but instead of wings, it has these two like hands.
Yeah, they're hands.
I guess. Yeah. Bizarre thing. There's this thing that has like six, like a body of a tiger, but with like 6 arms. It's got like a three snaked tail, ram's horns, and then like the face of like a porcelain doll. Like it's just a weird conglomerate. I think the art is what sold me. I'm also very curious at the moment about GM-less games, so I'm wanting to check that out. It also is selling itself as a built for like short campaigns, not like super long play and not one-offs, but just that like handful of sessions sort of a thing. And then you play it with a deck of playing cards and some d6s. And there's prompts, right? Like so you respond to prompts and roll dice and draw cards. I think I'm down just because it feels different. And I'm always down for a zine that's trying to do something different.
Yeah.
So that's rapid fire number 1. Heterodoxy right now, like I said, you could pick it up for $10 for the printed zine, $7 for the digital. It wanted $930, and right now it's sitting at $959 with 8 days left to go.
Right on.
All right, one down.
One down. I guess I will go next. And I've talked about this creator before. This is Guillermo. I'm going to butcher this last name. Gosh dang it. Buenfil. From Micro Dungeons. I've talked about Micro Dungeons before. This is the one that it's the one sheet. It's got the dungeon laid out. It's got all the different rooms all kind of statted out for you. This one's got some new monsters and some items and things like that. And it's the winter edition, and it's $1. I mean,
$1.
What else do I need to tell you? I think there's like four or five maps in here, different little dungeons. You need a quick winter themed, snow themed dungeon for an evening. Bang! There you go. It's $1. They got like snow trolls and I mean, just buy it.
Yeah.
Just back
It's also creators out of Mexico, and we like supporting creators that are from some of the whether or not they are the creator themselves is anything other than well off. We like to support countries that typically don't have a ton of access to a ton of RPG stuff.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Definitely back them.
this
Show them
would
some
be
love.
yep, $1.
Keep
$3
them
if you want to
creative.
catch up and do all 3 of their micro dungeons they've done so far.
Yeah, and I've got all the past ones already, but I might just do $3 anyway. Why not?
There you go. Why not? Cool. What else you got, Troy?
What else I got? I also got. Oh, there's like 8 days left in that as well. 8 or 9 days as of this recording. So jump on it. We like to spread the love and not just talk about D&D stuff. So I want to direct your attention to the cleaning of Prison Station Echo. A cool little adventure for Mothership. And it's very much in line with the Mothership artistic kind of theme with the black pages with the white writing, which can sometimes be a little difficult for me to read with in my advanced age. But this is kind of like, to me, just to give you kind of an idea, if anybody's seen the original Resident Evil movie, I believe that's the one where Alice wakes up and doesn't know what the heck's going on, and they have to go down in the thing. Take that kind of a setting, put it on a prison moon, and you're one of the janitors. And whatever they were experimenting on down in the basement got loose, and they're coming up, and the whole place is locked down, and you're stuck. So, you're gonna have to rely on all your janitorial skills to survive the insane things that are coming up from the bottom. So very much in line with Mothership, and this comes from the people that did Dying Hard on Hard Light Station and Planetary Diversity. So, I mean, again, it's Mothership. We love Mothership. Love all stuff Mothership. So, check this thing out.
It's got a unique art style, I would note.
Does.
It's more cartoony.
It's more. I'm in school and I'm doodling on my notebook pages. But it's cool. It kind of gives you a fun little thing. $8 for the PDF copy, all stretch goals. $15 for a physical copy and the PDF copy and all the stretch goals. So
awesome. Love it. All right, John.
Yeah, so for mine, I got slightly tricked by a non-Kickstarter crowdfunding website. I've really loved GameFound. One of the things that has been a minor irritation of mine, though, is I go out there and I look to see what they've got currently that's live, and there's really not a lot of distinction between what's live and what isn't. So I'm going to mention this one as I've got another one that's going to be non-live. It's going to be a post-crowdfunding, successful crowdfunding. That's where you can do a late pledge. But this is Darkest Dungeon, the board game, which I've played quite a bit of, like not a ton, but I've played a bit of it on the PC through Steam. And so it's interesting to me to see that leap from PC to board game or some other kind of like physical media for gaming. The basic premise is really simple. Your heroes, you go into a dungeon, it's dark, it's grim. It's 1 to 4 players, but it's a roguelike dungeon crawler, right? You play as heroes recruited for a campaign consisting of a series of quests and increasingly dangerous dungeons until you enter the darkest dungeon where the boss is going to end up being. There are 11 missions that you can play, and it has this modular playmat, or not playmat, but modular cards for generating the dungeon. This was really successful, incredibly successful on Kickstarter a while back, apparently. I think it was like $5 million is what they ended up making with 30,000 plus backers. So it's not like this thing is not successful. It's just, more than anything else, it's interesting to me. So that's why it ended up in my my rapid fire. But it was the most successful Mythic Games Kickstarter campaign, and it looks pretty cool. It's one of those where I'm not necessarily espousing it vehemently, but it's one of those, if you like the game, it might be something that's right up your alley. So I figured I'd let the sphere know that it was out there in case you were interested.
The
The other
little
thing,
trailer's cool. I like
Mhm.
that.
the other thing for this one, that I would note is that Darkest Dungeon, the board game, will not be in your retail store. It was
Correct.
a Kickstarter exclusive that's now on GameFound for its Pledge Manager, and you can go access it there. But if you're saying, "Oh, I'll wait for retail," you will not see it.
Yep. Yep.
Sweet. All right, Troy, round us out with a couple more.
All right. Here's another one. I've backed this creator's stuff before. I don't know that I've talked about him. Diego Pisa's Artworks is the company. This one is Cute Deadlies. Just interesting little monsters that he's come up with, and neat little works of art to go with it, and stats and backgrounds. To kind of sucker your players in and go, oh, look how cute, and then bites your fingers off.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's already funded. Diego, the way he seems to do things, it's just a very low goal, but he always does between like $500 and $1,000 on these things, and $112 goal. They're at 788 out of Italy. Italy has been putting out a lot of really cool and interesting things, so I'm all about supporting that. I want to see more stuff. So
Awesome.
yeah, check it out. 9 days to go as of this recording.
So these, let me ask you this: is this system agnostic, or are these are just kind of like flavor bits, or do they have a particular system that it follows?
5e, but you can. You can take what he has put into it and strip the numbers out and use it for whatever system you want. If you want to do that,
That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, Diego Pisa Artworks. Check that out.
Cool.
Cute Deadlies, and last but not least, and this is kind of like the one that I'm kind of the rapid fires that I'm really kind of excited about, and it's called Old School Armory. And basically, what it is just a bunch of starter equipment kits, and it's OSR, but I'm sure you can tweak it for 5e or whatever system you want. And they'll take like for the cleric, what would start the starting equipment of a cleric, but what kind of cleric? Are you a battle cleric? Are you more like a preacher type cleric, like parish priest, pious pilgrim, fighting father, martial minstrel, battle bishop? What do you see your character as? There you go.
This is
bang,
a cool
I was about
book.
to say, somebody loves the alliteration here. Yeah.
You're done. You don't have to sit there and pore over the equipment lists in the DMG or whatever other or player's handbook or whatever else you're looking through. It's all right there. You're done, and it gives you some unique items that aren't in your Dungeoneer's pack, kind of thing. So I don't know. I love the idea of it. PDF copy $5, and it should be out in a few weeks, if not by February. If you want print and PDF, $10. So
it's a cool book.
Yeah,
This should get a good amount of money because I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's got 24 days left to go as of this recording. They were only asking for $100, and they're already over 1,000. So yeah, I'm definitely going to snag onto this thing because I just love the idea of it.
Absolutely. All right, that was our rapid fire honorable mentions. Let's dive into those projects that made the cut and are part of our full lineup. We got a good, this is where we get into some. We're gonna get into these, I think. Let's kick off with my favorite project of this. Well, okay, there's another one later on that's also pretty exciting, but the one that I have backed and am most excited about this week is Bone Heart Crusaders. Crusade into the Valley of the Unfortunate Undead, a Mörk Borg adventure by Christian Eichhorn. Now, we know who Christian Eichhorn is, right?
Yes,
Christian Eichhorn did the Eberron 1099 adventures that are on the DM's Guild that are awesome. And he has hopped over into the Kickstarter space, and this is his sixth one over there. He does. I wish he wouldn't, just because I would like to give him more money instead of drive-through. But all of his books on Kickstarter go through drive-through RPG print on demand. So keep that in mind if you're backing. But he's done now 6 Mörk Borg products on Kickstarter. I own one of them, which is the Temple of the Kraken God, which is awesome. Boneheart Crusaders is the next one. It is weird, and that's why you should back Christian stuff, because he does a good job of making stuff.
Isn't that kind of not in the realm of like Mörk Borg?
Yeah, I know.
Weird like that.
It's a perfect. Here's what I love most about this one. He has taken the presentation of Mörk Borg as this fantasy setting, right? Dark metal fantasy, and he's added World War One aesthetics, and I'm like, that is cool. I don't know. I'm all about it. And also he's picked a really fun location. The Valley of the Unfortunate Undead is is a place that no one should be going in the Mörk Borg setting. And basically the pitch is that it's a hopeless place, it's a dismal place, it's that people only go to die. And that's why you've been sent there, because your kingdom is running out of food. And so what better thing to do than to round up a whole bunch of the citizens and send them on a pointless crusade into the Valley of the Unfortunate Undead. So it's very abysmal
That's where you're gonna
and
solve
very
hunger.
dismal.
Right
That's
there, right there. I want to know what a soul oven does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a little
They
disappointed.
don't bake cookies.
I'm a little disappointed about the no cookie thing, but
I'm gonna be.
Thanks,
I'm
Andrew.
interested to find
Thanks.
out a little bit more about this map and this location. I want to know
The
more about
intestines?
the intestines. That's
Yeah.
the location, is the intestines.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also a hex crawl, and he talks about. I think I've seen this in a previous product, but he has this thing where part of the book you cut out and you build out a map with the cut out hexes. So this is one that I'm absolutely backing. I think it's a great pitch. I think Christian does a really, really good job of. He did it with Eberron. He's doing it here, taking a thing and putting a great twist on it that makes his product stand out. I have no doubt that you should back this and that you will be happy with your purchase. $17. Now, keep in mind that's the print that gives you the codes, right? It's $10 or 12. Sorry, 10 euros, $12 for the PDF code and a print on demand code, which means you're probably going to end up paying another $7 on the back end. So it'd be a $20 book by the time it's all said and done. But that's not too awful for a zine. I went ahead and sprung a little bit more money. He has a tier that there's still a few left in for $17, where not only do you get the PDF code and the print on demand code, but you also get to insert an NPC name into a table. And I'm like, for $5, that'll be fun, because I like Christian stuff and I want to give him some extra appreciation.
I can't wait to find out what the name you're going to stick in there is going to be.
I know, right? It's going to be great.
The aesthetic. I'm always. I love how some of these creators are able to capture the original aesthetic of some of these other products that are out there, because Mörk Borg is so punk, and it's so unique by comparison to what else is out there right now, that I guess that makes it a little bit easier to mimic. Lots of bright yellows and blacks and whites and things like that too, and lots of a 1,000 different fonts, that kind of thing. But this is one of those where this is going to sit on your shelf right next to your Mörk Borg book, your core book.
Feel right at home.
And it's going to be like, this is where it was supposed to be, right? That's a good thing, right? A lot of the time, there is an aesthetic difference between, or like the content doesn't mesh with the originating system. and so it just feels a little bit off. But there's a really good flow right into it that I love, and I'm with you, Zach. I love the World War One. This reminds me of like the what is it, Wizards? I think maybe reminds me of Wizards, the old cartoon Wizards, where yeah. So they were using like World War One and World War Two gas masks. The villains were using them, so it's cool.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So that'll do Boneheart Crusaders. Troy, you got one here.
Well, just to make sure everybody knows, as of this recording, 3 days left for Boneheart Crusaders. So those
make it happen.
Yeah, those on the stream, make it happen. And I'll try to get this out as soon as I can.
Ooh.
Oh, nice. Girk just watched Wizards for the first time yesterday. That's awesome.
It's a great movie.
It is a great movie. Okay, for me, Black Box RPG Map Maker. This is one of those. I don't know that you'd be able to use it in a VTT. I don't know. It'd be really cool if you could. But you can. It's a neat way to make maps digitally. You're just drawing shapes in the grid that they give you. It populates walls. You put what you want in there. You know, beds, fireplaces, things like that. They're animated. There's special effects involved. You can then take the map and move it so that you're seeing it isometric and not just top down, or you can put yourself right in the whole thing as you're walking down the hallway and the fire spurts are blasting out at you and things like that. It just looks really, really good. It's a neat idea, I think, when I think this is something that would set in John's wheelhouse really, really nicely, because especially in one of the little video clips that you see when they're going in to like the grand dining room area, about halfway down the page, I can see right there. Yes. I can see you throwing this up on the screen, and John is describing everything that they can't see, like the sounds and the smells and all the stuff, and as you're flying in, the room opens out, and it really kind of gives the grand feel of the room and things like that. I really, really hope this is kind of like the future of virtual tabletops. We kind of had a discussion earlier today about some virtual tabletop stuff, and I'm kind of on the side that I really don't want a whole lot of bells and whistles in my virtual tabletop unless it's going to be like this. I mean, if you can build out a map, a 3D map like this, where it's almost like a virtual walkthrough, that would be something. Now, that would really be... That's immersion. That's really putting your people into it. And if you could make it so that you could put some miniatures in there and move around, that would be really cool too. You could put this on a TV, and you lay it on your table. They say you could print the maps out and just use them as normal battle maps, things like that. But I don't know. I just find this really interesting. Something to check out.
Yeah, it's gonna have a hard time getting to its funding goal without a big jump in the next 48 hours. So if this is something you want to do, you need to climb on board quick.
In the next 48 hours.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it needs to get some legs under it fast, or it won't.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's got 26 days to go, but it's only made a fifth of what it needs. Right. I think I love this too. I think the only thing that's ever daunting about something like this for myself is if I went with the cinematic, in the room VR feel that if I had to build that myself, not have to build it, right? They're probably going to be, I would assume it would be very similar to like a tool set like Neverwinter Nights, where you can, the old Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2, where you can just kind of like plug things in, and they've got probably a table or a menu full of bits and bobs that you can dress things out with. Oh my God. But for me, I'm such a perfectionist that I would probably make myself miserable with the amount of time that I would spend on this. I would love it. Don't get me wrong. but I don't think it would ever actually get to the game because I would be constantly adding this, then tweaking that, and doing this, that, and the other. What I can see though is if they create dungeons and adventures that you can put move your characters through or your players through, and it's just like it's plug and play. All you got to do is read the adventure and then start clicking the buttons, right? And then it would be also nice. They've got like an integration between mobile PC and VR. If the mobile version allows for players to look in the same thing, and if you were able to kind of control where they could look at each time, like you click a button on the mobile or your iPad or whatever, and it gives them access to look around in there if they want to. I could see that'd be pretty helpful. But the controlling, like I noticed the more and more that I'm sitting at the table physically, and I'm having to manage, like looking at my players, rolling dice, trying to describe things using my hands, and I'm trying to mess with something that's on my laptop at the same time. That's tough in person. But I could definitely see this as like a VR or like a virtual tabletop augmenter or alternative for sure.
Yep. Yep.
How cool would it be if you had something like this going on and everybody had their phones like you were saying and they're holding them up and the player says, I'm looking for traps. I'm going to check for traps. And they hold their phone up and they're starting to scan around the room. And it's like, okay, make a roll. And whatever, if they succeed, so that you're controlling it, you can kind of click some buttons and on their phone, it pops up that they see the outline of the door or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be pretty. I mean, that's a lot of advanced tech that I usually don't want to deal with in the games, but I think for special things, I think it would be a lot of fun to do something like that, like an augmented reality.
Cool. All right, John, run us over to GameFound again.
Yep, you got it. So this one is currently in preview. This is not actually live, and that is Gatefall Monsters. I'm a classic Monsters fan. I love the old black and white era films. Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, etc. I love those. I love that mythology. I love that era. It gets me. It gets me going. So what they've done is much like where much of GameFound is tabletop board game based and not necessarily RPG. So this one is actually a board game. There's not a ton about it that's out right now since it's in preview. It's just kind of whet your appetite. What we know about it is that the board game is all about those classic monsters, right? It's a 60-minute play time, 2 to 4 players. They've got its Gatefall game system for use with the Gatefall game system, which I don't know a ton about, honestly. But just the aesthetic is kind of the first thing that grabbed me. Because they don't have a ton, right? You've got different characters that looks like that you could play, tokens in order to track probably hit points or damage and things like that. But eventually it pits you against those classic movie monsters, and that is cool. I love that black and white era monster. It's something that they haven't kind of been able to recapture recently. You've seen like Dracula Reborn and Tom Cruise's Mummy movie and all that good stuff, which those were like okay, I guess, but it's not the same. It just doesn't capture the same, for me at least. Doesn't capture the same spirit of it. It's just something more than anything else to keep an eye out for. Whenever this actually goes live, I'm going to dig into this quite a bit more to see exactly what it is and what it's all about. There's just not a ton to go off of at this point, but it piqued my interest, so I'm gonna keep my ear to the ground with it.
It says going live hopefully by the end of the year. And if you follow now, you get a free monster, which is the Invisible Man.
I love that.
Yeah. You get the mini.
Yeah.
They're going to give you a free mini.
Yeah.
And they have an image for you to check out.
They've got an example of it. It's right next to the creature there. Yeah, you love that.
Yep. I mean, that's quality.
Yeah.
That's quality. Yeah. Quality you can count on. They do say though in the comment section that as much as it is a joke because there isn't a mini, or at least they haven't confirmed a mini, it will have a player board and everything, and it is a playable character, even if it doesn't have a menu.
Right.
So there is
It should just be
it's
a
not just a
base.
joke. Yeah, yeah.
It should just
That's
be the
probably what it's gonna
base.
be. It probably is. Yeah, yeah. So that's cool. I love. Good call, John. I'm interested. And if you go read their comment section, I think they have one of the best like teams responding to comments on GameFound
Mm-hmm.
out there, or in just in general. They're doing a good job of sparking interest. So.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room for this week, and that is Cyborg, the cyberpunk, official cyberpunk version of Mörk Borg. Um, yeah, nano-infested doomsday RPG about cybernetic misfits and punks raging against the relentless corporate hell. Oh my gosh.
You know what I call that? You know what I
It's,
call that?
what do you call
Tuesday.
that?
I call that Tuesday.
Tuesday. Um, it, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about this that you aren't expecting. If you like Mörk Borg, if you think it's weird and crazy and bizarre, you're gonna get that only cyberpunk. Um, I think the layouts that they're presenting here are awesome. I think it's actually, in my opinion, a little bit of a step up from what they did with Mörk Borg as a book. Like the presentation is something I love. It's got this crazy thing that I've never seen before, which is you can buy just the book, or you can buy the book plus an asset pack, which is a Ziploc baggie that has a character sheet pad, a poster size map of Psy, which is the city, and a location pad with heist sites, hooks, and hazards. Um, it's just a weird, like, it looks like it's thrown together little bag, which is on brand, right?
That's great.
It's crazy. They've done all the little things that you would want them to do. Like they've got animated GIFs as part of the Kickstarter. They've got crazy. They like what they've done actually is they figured out ways of putting different fonts and weird characters and things on in the text of Kickstarter, which is a difficult feat. So there's the whole thing is what you want it to be. 376,000 so far, 9 days to go, 5,000 plus backers. Here's what I will say though. So let me put a caveat in all that excitement. The physical book right now is going to be $50. That is, and it's $13 for the PDF. Here's the thing to think about. This is an A5 size book, so the same thing as Mörk Borg. 160 pages. I think this book's going to be a whole heck of a lot cheaper if you wait for retail.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Now,
Where's it coming from?
It's coming from Sweden. It's 160 pages, which is bigger than Mörk Borg was. But Mörk Borg right now you can get all day for $30. I don't know that it's worth paying. You know, I was going to see if I could get a quote on shipping. Well, you're going to pay shipping afterwards on BackerKit probably. But my guess is you're going to pay another $12 for shipping. So you're going to pay $62. Here we go. USA. 135 Swedish dollars, which is basically $15. Yeah. So I just don't know that I could tell you right now that this game you should buy it for $64.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gorgeous. Like,
it's gorgeous.
It's obvious that there's like they've invested a lot in their art assets. Holy moly! And their layout. I mean, some of these art assets are absolutely freaking gorgeous. So I mean, maybe you can excuse it as a result of that, but even still, that is steep. That's pretty steep.
Yeah. It's just a hard sell. I mean, it's a gorgeous book. I will own it. It's just a hard sell to do it on Kickstarter. So, all right. I'll leave it there with that one. We've got a few more still to go though. Troy.
Yeah. All right. I'm really interested in this one. This is the Dungeon Master's deck. 24 days to go. It's already funded. It's a deck of 50 cards separated out in a few different mini decks. But just through drawing a few cards out of the different mini decks and rolling on the little tables that's included on them, you can create an encounter, a night's adventure, or an entire campaign if you really, really wanted to. And it's all, it's mostly just like little prompts that you can use and flesh them out as you go. When your players, and you know those jerk players always do this to you. You go into the town, and you know it's like, well, we want to go here, and who's the shopkeeper? What's the NPC? I don't know. I didn't plan that far ahead. I didn't think you guys would want to go there. So now I got to come up with one, and I don't want to call him Bob the 17th, you know, because everybody ends up being Bob or Bill or something like that. So you know, you pull out this deck, and you make a couple quick rolls where you just look down the line, and boom, you've got world locations, character creations, quests, enemies, dungeons, magic items, curses, all kinds of stuff that you can use these decks for. So I really like the idea. $10 for the digital form, $25 for the actual deck. Should be being shipped out in February. Only in the United States, though. Sorry. But March of 2022, anywhere in the world. So, you know, and that's for $35. But I don't know. I dig the idea. This is from Roll the Dice Games. It's their first Kickstarter. I don't know. I kind of dig the.
It's a beautiful design too.
It is.
Like I think that's half the selling point for me is that it's like it's an idea that like we all like tables and things like that. There's a lot of them out there, but this one is so like I would love to have these cards pull these cards out of the table because they look so nice. Like
they do.
I just want to interact with them, right?
And I would like to. I'm going to back this definitely. But I think, you know, as a challenge to myself, I would like to just sit down and part of the session 0 say, you know, what kind of campaign do we want to play? I don't know. Let's find out. And just generate the whole thing right then and there as people are making their characters. You do the thing, and you can start tying stuff in as you're drawing cards and making your dice rolls. And just see what happens, and not worry about buying the next hardcover adventure or whatever. Just kind of go with it, see what happens.
Absolutely.
I like tools like these personally. Yeah. Sometimes you get stuck in a rut with creativity, and you don't have to even follow it to the letter. They're just options. If nothing else, it's just something that you can use as a reference to. Like, here are the different kinds of threats that I can go to. I can think about. I don't have to randomize every single one, but it gives me a list of things that I can utilize for describing an NPC or a background or some kind of a story hook or a treasure or item, a MacGuffin, so to speak. If nothing else, just you having it in the back of your pocket whenever you're creating something. Again, you don't have to randomize it, but you can just go back and like, oh my god, I know I've done this, that, or the other like 1,000 times. What other options do I really have? You know, being able to go to that is that's really valuable whenever you kind of get it, either get in a rut or you just want to try something different that you haven't really thought of in a while.
Yeah. Cool. All right, John, I'm glad you added this one to our list. Talk to us about the next project from Rich Lescaflair.
Yeah. So Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks, which that's a callback. Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. Yeah, that is definitely a callback to an old D&D module, like the Barrier Peaks, right? This is an Esper Genesis adventure, right? And it's a little bit more than just an adventure. You know, you've got some additional. You can play it with standard 5th edition core rules and supplements. But you can also play it using Esper Genesis and the comprehensive sci-fi rules that are incorporated in that. When you use both of the rule sets, you got like a ton of different character options for playing in a sci-fi setting. So this is an epic adventure from start to finish, with the storyline spans a character's entire career. We've got lots of different gear and items and races that are unique to the campaign setting. But again, this is 5e in space, for lack of a, in order to simplify it. So if you're trying to scratch the itch of, if you're tired of Western fantasy tropes and or whatever, and if you want to look to the stars for your next adventure, then maybe this is the one that you're looking for. Personally, I'm as big a fan of sci-fi as I am of fantasy, and it's cool to see the mix of a red dragon blazing fire at people in power armor, shooting laser beams at a dragon. That's cool, right? So they've got, in this, you've got new character customizations and species, backgrounds, class options, new spellcasting abilities, and things called Esper powers, which are part of the Esper Genesis stuff, cybernetics, starships, vehicle options, you name it. So that's the first part, or actually the first part of it is the actual adventure saga itself. The second part are all the character options that get tacked onto here. And then part 3 is the campaign setting itself. So you get like the realms of Thalos and everything that goes. And then there's like a galactic overview of the Aldor star system and the Rim sector. So you got like a setting, a playground and a sandbox that you can actually play out of. So if you get tired of the adventure, finish the adventure, or if you want to veer, zig whenever the adventure tells you to zag, then this is exactly where you would go, right? Here are all of your options. Here are the players. And it kind of gives you additional adventure seeds. So there's some additional content that's going to come with it. So they're actually looking already at Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 and shared tabletop for your VTTs to get taken care of with that. So if you got no table, no problem. The digital map assets and a bestiary companion are also available. So if you want, it's essentially like an expanded NPC and monsters kind of companion that goes along with it, as well as digital maps that you can use in your VTT. There's a ton here. It's just like limitless options. They've got some examples that are out there from the core manual. The engineer, which is a new class, and essentially the story is you're seeking to stop a cataclysmic magical threat. That's one option. And the other one is a team of intergalactic travelers that come across a generations old distress beacon coming from the surface below. So it's like they give you multiple seeds that can be run in parallel or individually. So if you've got 2 different gaming groups and you want to do sci-fi for both, well, maybe they're kind of like ships that pass the night at one point or another, and they crisscross, as the 2 adventures are going on. So yeah, there's a lot here. This is a no joke. There's just a ton that Rich has put into this, and the presentation is phenomenal. Yeah.
Rich does some great stuff, and our friend Andrew there in chat says that he helped playtest Esper Genesis.
Nice.
Esper Genesis is, if I'm not mistaken, if it's not the first sci-fi adaptation of the 5e rule set, it is definitely one of the very first sci-fi adaptations.
Definitely probably the most prominent that I'm aware of, right?
Yeah. That one and maybe Dark Matter would be the 2 that I would think of right off the top of my head. But yeah, Esper Genesis is really cool. And yes, Rich is generally at our family reunion called Winter Fantasy every February, running some Esper Genesis and stuff like that. So plugging the Mysterious Peaks and plugging Winter Fantasy, maybe you can come out and snag a game and see what this is all about from the man himself.
Yeah, so, fingers crossed. Let me tell you something. As a forever DM, I would happily jump into that table.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so from the bits and pieces of this thing, they're essentially what they're doing is they're providing you with kind of like a 2-pronged option here. You can either purchase you can pledge for the Adventure Series hardcover, which has all the extras, or you could go with just Esper Genesis as the core rule book, or both. If you don't already have the Esper Genesis core rule book, which you do need in order to play this, you'll have to have that core rule book in tow. And that's where, if you don't have Esper Genesis, this thing is going to it's pretty steep at that point, because you're looking at $90 in order to get both. But it's 2 hardcover books for that is what you're getting.
If you're wanting to do 5e sci-fi, this is a good way to do it, and you're gonna have an entry point no matter where you go at that point.
Yeah,
right?
you literally have everything that you need. You don't just have the core rule book and then like, what do I do with it now? You've got the core rules, and you've got multiple adventure paths and seeds that you can utilize in order to play to your heart's content.
And quite honestly, if you're interested in using the 5e rule set in a sci-fi capacity, why don't you have Esper Genesis? Because I mean, it is super, super solid work. It takes that rule system and puts it into the sci-fi setting very, very nicely. So
Andrew is asking it here in chat if it comes with all the VTT assets, or if it's just Expedition. I think that's a great question. I don't think that it's very clear, because there is a digital core bundle for that 45, but it doesn't say if it comes with VTT. So I think that's a good question. It may be already asked in the comments. So I would maybe just go diving in there. All right. Let's move on. This one's actually from Andrew. I stole something that he had brought up in our Discord, and I'm really excited. I was instantly excited. This will be an instant back for me unless something weird happens. So thanks for sharing. This is Old Gods of Appalachia, which is not a Kickstarter yet, but it's coming very soon. Early 2022, so we're giving you plenty of time. Old Gods of Appalachia is going to be from Monty Cook Games, and as Andrew pointed out, Old Gods of Appalachia is a podcast story that kind of mixes that sort of backwoods feel with Cthulhu mythos. And I'm pretty much sold at that point. I love this. There's no indication on what system they're going to be using for it. My heavy suspicion is that it's not going to be 5e. That's just Zach guessing, but I would be shocked. I want to buy this because I want to run it. And that's not always the case for Zach. Sometimes it's I want to buy this because it looks cool and I want to read it and I want to have it sitting on my shelf. Yeah, Andrew's saying maybe Cypher is what it's going to be, which would make sense as a system. But this is one that if I buy, I will be immediately on the hunt for a crew to play it. Because I think this is, I mean, John, you and I we were all talking about it beforehand.
Yeah, for me, this is really cool. I already like Cthulhu mythos, but for me, I've got a lot of my family came out of they were coal miners in West Virginia, and so I've gone to the coal mines. And let me tell you something: a dead coal mine, one that is an inactive coal mine. When you get in there, you get deep, and there's like you don't know what dark is until you're in a coal mine. And it's claustrophobic and it's terrifying being back there. We went on a tour of an inactive coal mine when I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and it was just terrible. Because like every little thing, every noise, every drip, you could hear everything. All of your senses were heightened, and so that very lonely, very isolated. Because that's one other thing too. Is like in Appalachia, you're super isolated from not just like from technology, from people, from help, any outside help that you want, good luck. If a mountain pass has caved in or whatever, there's no escape. That's part of this too. Is like there's nowhere to run. You can just hide and good luck, kind of thing.
The thing that I think is crazy about this is I remember like back when I was helping Cam Day with his supers and sorcery and then comets and cockpits projects, we were talking about this because we both believed, and I still do, that the next flavor of RPGs that are going to take the community by storm is non-Wild West American RPG. Like
Okay.
Appalachian RPG. Like I think that's the place to go right now. So this is like, yep, Monty Cook's on the front end of that, and I'm sold. So, all right, I'm excited way too early because if this Kickstarter launches, let's say in January, February, there's no way we are getting this book until halfway through next year,
Yeah.
quarters of the way through next year at the earliest.
Well, I'm going to tide myself over. I just subscribe to the podcast. So
Yeah, there you go.
Right on. There you go.
Cool. All right. Well, we got two more things here to round us out. Troy, this is another big one, so go ahead.
yeah, I again, this is one of those that sounds pretty cool to me. Call to Adventure Epic Origins. There was a Call to Adventure a while back on Kickstarter. This is the next thing. This is a game within a game kind of a deal. You can use this standalone game to create the backstory of your D&D characters. As you're sitting there playing, and they've got like little runic chits that you collect and roll, little cards that start creating like the background, the ancestry, maybe the class, things like that. And as you play through what's going on, you start getting like background points and things like that. And at the end of the game, you can convert what you have in front of you into a D&D 5th edition character sheet. And that is your character going forward. Or you could just continue to keep playing this game and having fun. That to me is a really cool idea and kind of not, I'm assuming, because I didn't read the whole thing, I'm assuming that after you're done with this game, the character that you have generated is now a first level adventurer going forward. And if that's the case, this game kind of speaks to me on how I think of characters in D&D. Because even though you start at first level in a campaign or in an adventure or whatever, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a brand new snot-nosed adventurer fresh off the farm. Because as long as you keep it in your head, this is just a construct of the rules. We have to start at first level in order to make the game last long enough and be cool enough and grand enough. Who knows? You know, your person could have been doing a lot of different things before starting, and this is the kind of the way to play through that concept. And I mean, it looks awesome. The deluxe edition looks like an old tome and has little insets for the cards and everything. This thing is just. I want the whole thing. I want the one that came before it. I want this one, and unfortunately, that's $200. But Christmas is right around the corner. So
that's right. There you go. Awesome. I'm glad you brought this one up. It looks cool. 11 days to go, and 332,000. So they're going to be just fine. All right. Last project here, John. Another GameFound one. Go for it.
Yeah,
your
definitely.
GameFound all over the place.
So this is the other one that GameFound tricked me on. This is actually an inactive. It's no longer being funded, or it has already been successfully funded. Right?
It's active. Let's be clear. It's live. It's just past its fund station. So you're basically effectively pre-ordering at this point.
Right. Exactly. It's interesting to me because this is an alternate D20 system. is one of the things that I find really interesting about this. I dug into, they've got a perilous preview where you can go through and take a look at the basic mechanics of the game. There is a lot of administrative upkeep, I noticed, in the core mechanic for this one, where it's not as... There are a lot of pluses, and like situational pluses and minuses, aspects of your character, situations within combat, different challenges. But what it does do is it says there is the difficulty, right? The DC, as we would refer to it in 5e, is if you want to succeed, it's 10. The end. You succeed. When you roll more than, but then there's like 15 and up is effectively like a critical success or a really good success, right? So there are different there are variant levels of success that are incorporated into it, but there's a lot of pluses and minuses that goes into it, a lot of calculation that you've got to do. It's pretty noodly to me. That's not necessarily a turn-off. It's just interesting to see how other people are using the D20 to accommodate their own system. The other thing that's really interesting about this one is it's fantasy role playing. It's very D&D like. You go into a dungeon. There are dwarves and what looks like, paladins and tieflings, all that good stuff too. What's really interesting though is there's freeform character creation. So there are no classes, right? There are all these different aspects and bits and pieces that you tack together to create a character, as opposed to a template driven style, right? That you would see with like you would normally see that with Dungeons and Dragons. A paladin is like this. A paladin with this oath is like this, as opposed to you're just a character and here are your skills and traits and the things that make you you. The other part of this that is kind of to like in parallel to what Troy was talking about, there's an option where it's GM-less. You don't need a game master for it. And they use cards that ask different questions and prompts and things like that. And then you do it. It's the players collaborating, creating the story without someone else necessarily directing or leading the story and the play. This, I have never played a GM-less game yet. This is one of those like, are they going to automate me out of a job? Questions I have to ask myself. Certainly not. Surely not. Right. But it is. I want to play a game where that's so. Like, what is a game masterless or a dungeon masterless game? What does it really feel like? Is it? It's not even probably not going to be. I'm assuming it's not going to be remotely the same thing necessarily, but it's not that I like it. I am fascinated by it from from an academic standpoint. What does a GM-less game look like? So this is another one of those. Yeah. So it's, again, Perilous is not something that I'm like jumping up and down to play or to fund or to pre-order or whatever. It's just this is more like a study for me in what other people are doing out there that is this D&D like, but is not D&D. And you know what? The other part of this that's really cool is the game. This is a role-playing game on GameFound. That's good. More of those, please. The not less of anything else, but more tabletop RPGs. And so this is one of the things we've been looking for that I'd like to see more of. So I want to make sure that it got a shout out, if for no other reason for that.
I've played a few different GM-less games. I've enjoyed them. They're pretty cool. Some kind of allow for more role playing than others amongst the table, but or you can just strip out the role playing altogether and just run and gun and hack and slash and loot and all that kind of stuff. But I find it very, very cool. One thing that's kind of fun to do is as the cards come up, and I'm assuming it's the same in this game as well. As the cards come up and just give you a 1 or 2 line description of what you're encountering or the situation or whatever, you pick somebody to table. Flesh it out. Give us more. You're the DM for this little.
Yeah, one of the prompts, I guess, is what we'll call the cards that they've got here is what hidden danger here isn't what it appears to be. And then there are some adjectives / there's some other descriptors that are in there also, like slippery, drowning, waves, right? And so I guess you tell me, Troy. It sounds like to me like the players are the ones that maybe it's this and maybe it's that, and you all collaborate to tell what it actually is, and then you react to it after you've kind of constructed it as a group.
I think that, to me, if it's not, hopefully somebody makes a game that does that, because that sounds like a lot of fun.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that for sure. Like, can you tell me if I'm wrong with it in this? But it almost seems like this is what the DMs play together. When you get a room full of a bunch of DMs that sit down, or GMs that sit down, that love to create stories, and they like to create that environment and setting, creature, and all that kind of stuff. This is the kind of thing that a GM-less option like this, or what like you're interested in, is that seems to me like that'd be right up that group's alley.
Yeah.
That's one way to look at it. Another way is, hey, we want to play, or not everybody could show up tonight, but we still want to play and do something. Well, I didn't have anything prepared. I'm kind of in a brain fog, or whatever might be going on. Hey, let's pull this out and we'll all just play. Man, can you imagine a product, trademark pending, that's called GM Autopilot? Your GM can't make it. So what? That's like the worst thing that happens, right? The GM gets sick. Their kid gets, has to get, they have to take them to like some school event or something like that. So if you got 5 people that usually sit at the table, 4 people are ready to rock and roll, the GM's not able to make it, game over. Whereas with 1 player out, maybe even 2 players, the GM can still make the game go. I think that I could see a use or a need for the players, like if the GM's not available, that the players that the show can still continue to where you do something like this. Instead of one person having to pick up the GM mantle, it's like, all right, we're just going to go on autopilot. It's not going to be the same, but we can at least do this, and then we can go back to the GM and let them know here's where we landed. Be kind of cool. Oh, no, that would be really interesting. The GM just steps out. Yep. Of the campaign for a session. Yep, exactly. And the player's like, well, screw him. We don't need him. We're just going to keep going. And that would be really interesting to come back or I wouldn't want to rely on their, report afterward. I would be more like, you know what? I don't feel like running you chuckleheads tonight. I'm going to sit over here. Y'all do it yourself. And I'm just going to sit over here and take notes and see where it ends up. That would be fun. Yeah. Because they're going to say something. They're going to have a throwaway line, or someone's going to make a comment about some strange gemstone, whatever. That's going to, I'm going to put that in my little DM pocket, and that's going to bite them in the butt in a couple sessions down the road. I now have a new passion project. I think this needs to happen.
There you go.
Right on.
All right. Well, that was our list of Kickstarters and crowdfunders for the next couple weeks. We've got more Kickstarter talk coming up for you in the next couple days, though. The last episode before the long holiday weekend, we're going to be chatting with some guys who have done quite a few Kickstarters between the two of them. It's going to be a great episode. If you can manage to make it live for Tuesday night, I think you will not be disappointed. The other thing that I will steer you towards is our Discord server, which is becoming even more active as the weeks go on. We are having a resoundingly in-depth talk about Star Wars novels over there. Obviously, Andrew dropped the Appalachia RPG on us today. Just so much. Our movie talk is going good. Like there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff.
I want to make sure this
Troy has sold like 7 copies of
Know Your Role.
Yeah, Know Your Role.
No, Andrew, God bless you for this. Apparently, there's a company that's going to use the Year Zero system and do a World War II RPG. I'm guessing it's going to be very much in the vein of like a Twilight 2000-esque type systems and stuff. But set in, and it's not like a weird World War or anything like that. It is a straight up World War II. This speaks to me on so many different levels. My father was in World War II. Stories that I've heard, things that I've looked into, all that kind of stuff. When that was posted, I'm like, I have to have this game. I want to run this game. It's going to be so much. It's just going to be awesome. And so yeah, definitely come on over to the Discord server, and because you never know what you're going to come across.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I think with that, we're going to call it good for tonight. I want to thank Mr. Chaos 8, Andrew, Girk, and Bear Droid, and everyone else for hopping in. This was a good episode. I enjoyed chatting these crowdfunders with you fellows. I'm really looking forward to Tuesday. I think there's about a 50-50 shot we do or don't do an episode next Sunday, with it being the holiday weekend, but we'll try to let people know before it gets too close to time.
And if we don't do one, maybe one or two of us, or maybe all three of us, or who knows what,
hang out.
Might do a hangout with y'all.
There you go.
And talk about whatever comes to mind.
We'll figure it out. All right. Well, with that, thank you so much for hanging out. I encourage you to go head over, if you're listening to this on a podcast, give us a like, give us a review, give us a rating, share it with your friends. We'd love that very much. And until next week, we'll see you next time.
Have a great game, everybody.
Everybody stay safe out there. We're still live, by the way.
Again with the
man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Stay safe. It's 2 S's. Shut up. Anyway, before we end, I have a very, very small story that I'm going to tell the crowd here. For those that stuck it out with us, I think I may have killed my Friday night game.
Oh.
Actually, you know what? No, hang on a second. I'm not taking responsibility for it this time. This is not on me. My Friday game is the one that for like a year and some change, we played through the Dragonlance conversion of Rime of the Frost Maiden. Pretty sure we're about a hair's breadth away from it, like having to do a reboot or do something else at this point. They made it into a big bad's lair, which I'll keep it spoiler free. They went into a big bad's lair. I think Zach, you've heard most of this, or like at least some of it. They went into the big bad's lair, and they decided to Leroy Jenkins into the main room. They were already they were like completely exhausted. Like I think the paladin had nothing left in the chamber. The wizard had a handful of spells. The cleric was pretty much empty. Like everybody was running on empty. They had what they could from a short rest, and that's it. And they had most of their hit points back. But they did kind of like this Keystone Capers approach to trying to distract and whatever, and just got pummeled. But it wasn't just because they ran in and they pulled down the whole thing on them. They did the cardinal sin in Dungeons and Dragons. They split the party.
Yes.
One player went down to fight the big bad. One big bad. Everybody else chased after the other big bad that was just trying to escape. And so they left the paladin by his lonesome, and the paladin got like slaughtered. And he drops, and the big bad is standing over his body. And he's about to, because this guy, I couldn't come up with an excuse for why he wouldn't double tap. He's all by his lonesome. He's not going to go and chase the other team members. I was like, nope, I want to make sure this one's done because he's the threat right now, right? So he's standing there, towering over him, about to kill him. The one person in my group that did not give chase and that stuck it out with the paladin was my son. It was Gabriel. I was very proud of Gabriel. He stuck it out, and he was laser beaming the crap out of the bad guy, trying to get him off of him, essentially like draw aggro, right? No such luck. So the paladin fails one death saving throw. That's all right. He's got 2 more death saving throws. Not a big deal. We'll get it. And so I could see it in the eyes of my other players where they were like, oh, this is not good. If he die. John's not gonna really kill him, is he? And I'm like, I didn't say anything at all. But I could hear them like starting to discuss it. And then it was the paladin's turn again. It's like, all right, go ahead and give me another saving throw, please. Nat 1. Nat 1. And they were like, well, he's got bless cast on him. Like, so? It's if you roll a 1 or a 20. Those are the only options. Not if you roll a modified. If it's a modified roll or not. If it's 1, it's 2 failures. And he's dead. And so we had like this drawn out moment, and I gave him like the Hamlet death, where I gave him an opportunity to monologue a bit and look up as this bad guy is looking down on him and is about to kill him, and give him one last attack, because the bad guy was pretty close to biting it too. So I was like, at the very least, to salvage this somewhat, it is incumbent upon me, because he did what he should have done as the player, and that's like focus fire on this guy. Anyway, so the rest of them, man,
I love it.
I had 6 players, and all 6 of them attacked a different person except for my paladin and Gabriel's wizard. They were the only ones that focused fired at all, and they were just like, it was like watching the Marx Brothers. They were all over the place on the field, and it was. So now we're trying to figure out, and I could also tell whenever my paladin, whenever his character died, it took the air out of the virtual room. Everybody was kind of like, it felt a lot like it did in that Horde of the Dragon Queen game or fight with that Zach was a part of, where it's just like, now what, and so I let them kind of like run it down a little bit more. Like I let the fight go on, and then I finally ended up getting to a point where I was like, all right, zip, that's enough. Let's put a pause on this, and we'll come back to this, put a pin in it. And I told him, like, I'm not really sure. This is one of, like, I don't know how, like, this is where I wanted Zach and Troy's input. At this point, I kind of lifted the curtain.
Nobody else's, not chat's.
Yeah, you guys.
No. I want everybody else's.
Shut your pie holes.
You shut. No, that's not true. No. I want everybody's opinion on this. So I pulled back the curtain a bit. I said, okay, hang on a second. I'm going to take my DM hat off just for a second. It's just John. First of all, what are you guys doing? Tactically, what do you, like, you guys have been playing D&D long enough to where you should know some of the kind of, like, to me at least, or what, like, some of the basic, don't do this and focus fire and all that kind of stuff. But which, that's whatever. But really I was like, well, okay, look, that's all besides the point though. What do you all want to do now? Do you want to play it out and see what happens?
That's always what players want to hear when their character died, is like, you
guys
suck.
screwed up.
You did it wrong.
Not him. I
don't even know.
I essentially told the guy that's the paladin. I was like, this is for everybody but you and Gabriel. Everybody, the other 4, I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, I didn't know. So do you feel like, it's like, exactly, how do you want to do this? Like, how do you want this to go down? Do we want to play it out? Like the slow, agonizing, plunge into death?
It shouldn't be, how do you want to do this? It should be, okay, so how do you want this done to you?
That's fair. That's fair. So what? Like, let me ask you this. So
do you want the?
Go ahead.
Do you want the? So I think there's 2 answers to this, and let me do it as a neutral statement.
There's a Zach answer, and then there's a nice DM answer.
Fair enough. Well, what I was gonna say is, I won't be the judge of this, and I think it doesn't matter how good of a DM you are. Either one of these 2 could be the reality of what's happened, right? Mm-hmm. You either have a group of players who just enjoy playing like what I would call like the beer and pretzels version of D&D, right? Which is just, I don't want to have to think. I'm just here to throw dice, right? And so tactics and what, and they're gonna because they don't really want to think about it, they end up getting into things that they didn't really want to get into, right?
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, no, I mean, I didn't want that to happen, right? But if they would have been paying attention, it wouldn't have happened, right?
Right.
The other side of it is, if you have lost their
Their buy-in.
Their ability to be invested, and what they're doing is they're trying to move forward,
Right.
right? And that's something that I've 100% experienced at certain sessions. Like the players want something to happen, and so they're splitting up, or they're doing X, or they're charging into the room, or they're kicking down the door, or whatever it is, because they're tired of Zach BS, right? And they're just like, we're gonna make something happen, and I don't care what it is, and I might regret that later, but right now I just want something to happen.
All very possible.
Well,
Go ahead.
to me,
So
oh, go ahead.
Me? I was going to say all very possible. Go ahead, Troy. Yeah.
I didn't know if Zach was going
no,
to.
no, no. Those were just like to me, when it comes down to like this happened, it sucks all the air out of the room, which means
Yeah.
that they did not. That was not. They don't feel like that was the result that they enjoyed or were happy about, right? Or that they were going for, right? It's not like sometimes there's a character death and everybody is down for it, right? It's like, yeah, this is what would happen, or man, that was an intense fight and something died because, I mean, it was just how the cards felt. To me, it's rare for air to be sucked out of the room for those things. It's typically sucked out of the air means we really don't want this to happen, and it's unexpected.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I was going to say that to me, there's also a third option, and I've been also considering this kind of stuff a lot lately, and that's the cinematic reason. Because you always see in the movies and things like that, they always split the party. Nobody, the D&D rule does not exist outside of D&D or role-playing games, because the groups that you see are always, hey, we got to split up and go. In horror movies, don't, it is what it is. But in action-y movies and things like that, it's always, you guys go this way and do this, we'll split up and we'll go this way and do this. And they always meet up again at the end. So it's, if they're thinking that in that cinematic style, they're thinking, like the paladin, I'm going to go face this foe on my own, and it's going to be an epic duel kind of a thing. The other team is going to chase them guys down and do whatever. I don't know. That one's really hard to. I think it's kind of a session zero thing.
Did I tell you guys that I killed two? I told somebody that I killed two more people on Monday night.
Yes.
I told Troy.
I hadn't heard about it yet.
Yeah. So that's what Troy just mentioned, right? In some ways, is also Zach being mean. Characters on Monday.
Now you mentioned, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And that was because I built a fight to be brutal, because it's kind of like one of the last fights of the campaign, and it was arguably too brutal. And I would say that, like, for certain tier 4 parties, if you have a wizard or a sorcerer, you can do a lot of crazy things. This party does not have that sort of crazy magic. The closest they have is a druid, which can still do cool stuff, but isn't game-breaking as much as the others are. And I think I built for the crazy, stupid tier 4 party, and what I got was an actually well-rounded, reasonable tier 4 party. But anyhow, that's another.
Well, here's what's
another story. Yeah.
Here's what's going to hopefully you and the rest of chat will find interesting, is that there was a lot of discussion post game between the players that I intentionally stayed out of to let them. They did their own self-analysis, because I didn't chastise them. I was just like, what was like going on there? It wasn't me like calling them out on the behavior. It was just me wanting to understand it more than anything else. And so they've done a lot of self-analysis, and without naming any names or anything like that, I did ask them ahead of time if it was cool, because some of this I'll read verbatim. Troy, to your point, one of my players said, think about movies. When a group of people fight together, almost insurmountable odds Does every character fight side by side? Usually no. Each person is trying to find a leg up on the situation through pushing their strengths to the limit, etc., etc. By its nature, it's more cinematic and thus fun. So one of the things that this player does not like, he said specifically, one real gripe I have with D&D, as I understand it, is how dangerous it is to split up, ever. Party members are limited to what they can do as a team. This player, though, likes to will go on their own, like a wild goose chase, or I'm going to go over here. I know that everybody else is going and doing this thing over here, but I'm going to do this thing over here. And it's like half an hour while everybody else sits and kind of waits, right? And what I've done to mitigate that is, like, I'm going to effectively, without saying it, I'm going to give you 10 minutes. We're going to do this for like 5 to 10 minutes, and that's it. And then if we get to like the 7 or 8 minute point and we're still not done yet, then I'm going to hand wave montage this thing, and I'm going to get you back over with the rest of the party. And then we're going to continue on, right? The other bit was the other players were thinking more about it tactically, right? Where it's like, let's see here. If I can find a pretty good one.
I love Bear Droid's comment.
What do you say? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job. Wait, does John do the hats with his home games?
Yes, I do. I don't do it as much anymore because that's the other thing too. This game group, these are like friends I've known since high school. So I've got a pretty good bead. They went rogue
And they
on
put
me.
up with his stuff for a long time.
You're darned, and they keep coming back for more too. So
More.
they keep, like, I have a pretty good beat on them, and they just went rogue. I was not expecting that turn, right? So let's see, what did they say? Like, I gotta find this again because it's better coming from them, honestly. One of them was, it kept putting out quotes from like, by discovering the enemy's dispositions and remaining invisible ourselves, we can keep our forces concentrated while the enemies must be divided. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. So like he was like, yes, John's right, or what John said made sense. We probably should have stuck together, etc. So like one was like, it's dangerous to go alone, old man in a cave in Zelda kind of thing, right? It's like we should have stuck together and focused fire and etc. But I mean, it did make me think quite a bit of like one of the ways that we get around not splitting up the party or not worrying about splitting up the party in combat is adding mooks and minions and things like that. I could have added more of them, but this was one where, like, they knew they were going into effectively like a boss fight. They knew this guy was not going to be a pushover, and they just went in different directions. And so what they effectively what ended up happening is the strategy was they thought that between Gabriel and the Paladin, the wizard and the paladin could hold off the bad guy long enough for them to make sure that the other bad guy didn't get away and pull more stuff in. And so that's why they ended up splitting. And by doing that, though, they didn't realize that he's just trying to get out. He's not the other big bad was just trying to escape so that he didn't get put into a PC blender, a player character blender. So yeah, I thought you'd find that maybe you'd find that interesting.
I feel like one thing that can kind of help alleviate, I mean, it's not going to really cure a whole lot, but judicious use of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
If you can condition your players to actually use it, and if you give it out a lot, because, like, for instance, the paladin going to face the foe alone. Even, Gabriel going with him, but it was his, I got to go do this on my own kind of thing. Yeah. That's a very paladin thing to do.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Inspiration.
I know I am so guilty. I do not give out inspiration nearly enough. I just don't think about it.
Yeah. But I feel like for those kind of things, maybe that's something.
I'll tell you, I think that it's because so I've decided that it's a flaw in the system and not in us. Let me back that up. I'm running that Dune campaign now, and momentum is such a big component, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have already been awarding momentum as inspiration because the system is all about awarding your players for good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like that's already built in by and large, and it doesn't feel tacked on. Inspiration feels tacked on.
Yes.
And part of it is that it's called inspiration. If we were like, because how many of us say you get advantage on that roll because you described it in a cool way, right? Or you were clever in the thing. We do that all the time. We just don't give out inspiration all the time, right? It just it's tacked on um, um, yes. Chaos 8's asking if or Andrew's asking if rolls generate momentum. They do. I also, because we do a 2D, our 2D20 games are very mechanics light. And so some things that I'm guessing maybe somebody else might call for a roll on, I don't always do. And so I'm like keeping the mechanics in play by saying, oh yeah, that's cool. That was a really cool thing, and you used a trait or an asset, even though we didn't roll. You reference a trait or an asset, which is cool. You get a momentum for that, and it's fun. So
Yeah, and some of the other things too that they mentioned were like one of the other players said maybe we weren't ready to take on this particular objective. Like we skipped a level in Mario. Like were we supposed to be there in the first place? John never indicated that we weren't supposed to be there. Maybe we'd bitten off more than we could chew. But to me, I'm like, no, they're fine, and it's a well balanced fight and all that good stuff. If like that was to me my folly as the GM of the DM, what I'll take on myself is that just because it's well balanced from like an academic standpoint, the numbers play out right, that there has to be some wiggle room in there if the players don't use a strategy that I expect them to in order to maintain that level of balance, right? They said like another separate player said, I think part of our folly was assuming that just because a certain mass of enemies were before us, that it was survivable. Like in a video game where the course of the stage was to take on the next level, the next level, the next level. Perhaps the DM figured we'd have a bit more common sense. A lot of campaigns run that way, a set of challenges that are a tiered progression to be survivable with combat in each encounter. Perhaps this one wasn't. Maybe we were either supposed to lose or we were supposed to avoid the fight altogether.
Okay, that something else that goes back to the whole, thinking about the movies kind of thing would be how many D&D fights, and I'm, a lot of RPGs as well, but I think D&D more so than probably others is in a D&D fight, PC walks up to bad person, plants their feet, and you just trade dice rolls until somebody drops. Whether you got somebody off to the side blasting them with ranged as well or things like that. But not very often do people actually use the area that they have been described. And I think that's kind of what I've been trying, or I had tried to do in the past, is I've been trying to show players that that's possible to do by having my NPCs and my bad guys do that.
Use the environment to your advantage. Gotcha.
Using the environment, using different things. So that could be one way to kind of, hey, you want to even the playing field. You know where the fight's going to take place. Push things on top or huck them over the side of a little cliff. Anything to shoot the stalactite to pin them down momentarily. Anything to kind of help even that play, because your bad guy can be so cocky that I don't need to rely on these other things. I will beat you with my skill alone, kind of thing. So I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that can be.
Well, the good thing is, even though I say in hyperbole that I think I've killed my campaign, I think I've got a good way of circumnavigating the TPK within the story that will not seem cheesy. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see if they got it.
We'll see.
Or not. We'll see.
But
and if not, they may end up playing it out and they ended up biting the dust anyway. The good thing was none of them were upset at all. The player whose character died was not upset. He's like, that happens. It's like, sometimes the good guys lose and the bad guys win, and like maybe we'll be. The good thing too is that within the story they built relationships with other NPCs. They created their own their own niche in the 10 towns, and had their own little NPCs that were like their sidekick characters. So the cool thing is like they could it's a sidekick now that the sidekicks take over, and now they're going to actually go out and try to find their masters / mentors, whatever. So the game won't end by any stretch of the imagination. It just may change a bit. So we'll see.
Well, that and it sounds to me like that paladin actually got an epic death.
Oh, he did. Yes. I wanted to make absolutely sure that it was satisfying and not just like, Tannis is killed by red shirt number 4 kind of thing. Yep. Yeah, I made sure that I had the bad guy whisper to him as he slowly put the blade between his ribs, spoke to him in German, whispered.
Of course, it was in German.
I'm just, that's one of the only languages I know, so that's the reason why.
He said, "Ich bin ein Berliner."
I am your donut.
You're a jelly donut?
Donut. Anyway, thank you for humoring me with that. Hopefully that was like nice for everybody there.
That's great. Oh boy. Well, folks, thanks for hanging out with us for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Appreciate that very much. We're going to let you go now, but we'll catch you again on Tuesday.
Yeah, and may all your epic deaths be jelly donuts.
Yes, and slobbily, stay slayfully safe out there.
Stay chafed.
Stay chafed.